A lot of athletes see sports as a way to kind of overcome their economic surroundings. Where do you see basketball fitting into the American dream?
One, just look at the players who become stars in the NBA. They're very diverse. I mean, it's interesting, part of the American dream is being met by international players coming to the United States. I mean, with all the discussion around immigration, 25% of our players in the league are from outside the United States. The U.S. has opened its borders to them based on their ability to do something at an incredibly high level. To me, it's the ultimate meritocracy. In addition, you have lots of players who come from underprivileged backgrounds where it's truly rags to riches stories. It becomes a shared dream for a lot of people, and to say, well, if LeBron James can do what he's doing in the NBA, can I go out and be great at something? If I work incredibly hard at something, can I ultimately achieve at a high level?
You mentioned LeBron James. He's one of several players who are kind of coming out more and being more socially active. Why do you think NBA players are more active socially than other athletes?
I think part of the reason NBA players are more active is that it's been part of the culture of this league for generations and passed down to them. I've been thinking recently about Bill Russell, for example. 55 years ago, he played in our All-Star game in Los Angeles and was the MVP. That was 1963. It was also the same year as Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech in Washington, D.C. that Bill Russell attended. That sense of an obligation, social responsibility, a desire to speak up directly about issues that are important to them was something that has been passed down from generation to generation among our players, so that when LeBron James comes into this league, or Steph Curry for that matter, who had a father who played in the league, that's part of being an NBA player. I think what my job becomes is making sure that they feel safe, frankly, in speaking out on issues that are important to them, that it's not going to affect their playing careers. We make clear to them that freedom of political speech is something, not freedom to criticize referees, by the way, but that they come into this league and that we want them to be multidimensional people and fully participate as citizens. And I say, incidentally, the same thing to the 25% of our league that comes from outside the United States. Many of them come from societies where you can't possibly speak up about political matters. What's important for people in the NBA is they know that that's an opportunity provided to them, and that ultimately it's an environment that facilitates it, and that they know that if they have important things to say, there are plenty of opportunities to say them.
Now, if you look at your demographics of an average NBA fan, more minorities, more liberal, would you have a different stance if it wasn't also a good business decision?
I think we have a very progressive fan base. I would just make that distinction from liberal, which has a very particular political connotation.
Fair,
and I only say progressive in that I think back to sort of the through line from Bill Russell. I think there are certain values in terms of non-discrimination, values in terms of a meritocracy on the floor, values in terms of respect for the game. And I think from that standpoint, those core values help define our fan base as well. And we do have a very young fan base. And I think that increasingly in society, almost regardless of political affiliation, young people adhere to those political values. I think even in terms of certain civil rights issues, that they cross political borders, that people believe in human rights, for example. And I think younger people have certain views on immigration that may not be shared by their parents even. And so, yes, I think ultimately, to the extent we're a brand, there's an NBA brand, I think that us upholding those values is good business, because I think it's consistent with how people see our brand. And incidentally, we're a very global league. Ultimately, especially outside the United States, they view those as very much American values.
Do you think there's more responsibility on leagues as companies to kind of make social statements in the current climate that we're in?
My sense, again, from my broad reading and following of what's happening in our society, is that all CEOs, all big corporations these days really have no choice. That it's an expectation from their customers that they are going to take a position. One thing I've recognized is that in standing for something, it's important to be transparent in terms of how you got to that position. And I find that while there may be disagreements, if you're transparent, you say, here's my thought process, and I thought about these things, and at the end, I therefore took the left and not the right, that even people who think maybe you should have gone right instead will at least be more respectful of your position if you're very open about how you got to where you did.